Good morning, everyone. It is May 6, 2018. I'm Eric. I'm here at Zero Hedge. As U.S. military effectiveness and diplomacy fade, many countries start ignoring Washington. This comes from the Strategic Culture Foundation. I'm not going to try to pronounce the author's name. I wanted to nutshell this article because it is rather lengthy, but I don't think I would do it any justice in doing so. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the whole fucking thing. Diplomatic work continues in some of the areas with the highest geopolitical tensions in the world. In recent days, there have been high-level meetings and contracts between Turkey, Iran, and Russia over the situation in Syria. Meetings between Modi and Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, to ease tensions between India and China, and finally the historic meeting between Moon Jae-in and Kim Jong-un. The common component in all of these meetings is the absence of the United States, which may explain the excellent progress that has been made. The last 7 days have brought a note of optimism to international relations. The meeting between Modi and Jinping, or however you say his name, in China offered a regional example confirmed by the words of Wang Yi, member of the State Council of the People's Republic of China. Our India and China common interests outweigh our differences. The summit will go a long way towards deepening the mutual trust between the two great neighbors. We will make sure that the informal summit will be a complete success and a new milestone in the history of China-India relations. Given the tensions in August 2017 in the Himalayan border area between the two countries, the progress achieved in the last 9 months bodes well for a further increase in cooperation between the two nations. Bilateral trade stands at around $85 billion a year, with China as India's largest trading partner. The meeting between Modi and Xi also served as, or to deepen, the already existing framework between the two countries in international organizations like BRICS, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, in which they are integral participants. It is imaginable that negotiations on the Belt and Road Initiative will be in full swing, with Beijing keen to involve New Delhi more in the project. Such a prospect is particularly helped by 3 very powerful investment vehicles put in place by Beijing, namely the New Development Bank, formerly the BRICS Development Bank, the AIIB, and the Silk Road Fund. Xi Jinping will be seeking to progressively entice India closer to the BRI project through attractive and mutually beneficial commercial arrangements. However, this objective remains complicated and difficult to implement. Beijing is aware of this and has already expressed its intentions not to impose the BRI on the neighboring country, with much of the future global and regional architecture depending on these two countries. The good understanding shown between Xi Jinping and Modi bodes well, especially given the commonly aligned objectives represented by the multitude of international organizations and framework on which China and India sit side by side. Another bit of important news for the Asian region has been the meeting between Moon Jae-in and Kim Jong-un, which was recently examined in an article published by in Strategic Culture Foundation. As discussed in that article, the intention of these two leaders is to reunite the two Koreas, to denuclearize the peninsula, and to weather or sign a peace treaty between North and South, whose unprecedented implications entail such questions as whether there is a future role for the United States on the peninsula. As stated before, the rapprochement between the two Koreas do not play into Washington's favor, which relies on the South as a strategic foothold to contain China, justifying its presence on the purported need to confront North Korea. With an all-encompassing peace agreement, this justification would cease to exist. It seems that the goal for U.S. policymakers will be to find an opportunity to sabotage the North-South agreement and blame Kim Jong-un for its failure. Without engaging in a diplomatic tiff with its South Korean ally, the deep state in Washington does not intend to surrender 1 inch of its military presence on the peninsula, and would even look favorably on the negotiations failing to further damage Trump and his administration. Of course, I do disagree with that last comment, because I do believe Trump has probably been, if he started off with the intention of doing all these things, he like most other presidents, get there and find out that, they don't have as much control as they think. All these executive order powers, they're not really controlled by the president. They're controlled by the people whispering in his ear, telling him what to do. This is an internal deep state war that has been going on for years. Obama wanted to abandon the Middle East in order to focus on containing China, altering the military's structure accordingly to return to a more Cold War stance. This explains the agreement with Iran in order to free the U.S. from its Middle East involvement so as to be able to focus mainly on Asia and to promote it as the most important region for the United States. This strategic intention has met with enormous opposition from of the most influential lobbies in the American political system, the Israeli and Saudi Arabian lobby. Without the United States, these two countries would be unable to stop Iran's peaceful but impressive ascent in the region. Listening to four-star generals like Robert Neller, Commandant of the Marine Corps, and other less distinguished ones, one comes to appropriate the extent to which the military is in strategic chaos. The military has been the victim of epochal changes with each presidency. Pentagon planners would like to simultaneously confront countries like Russia, China, and Iran, but in the process only decrease effectiveness due to imperial overstretch. Other politicians, especially from the neocon era, argue for the need to transform the U.S. armed forces from a force suitable for fighting small countries like Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria, Middle Eastern insurgencies, or terrorist groups, to a military able to face its peer competitors with all weapons available. Such a realignment does not occur over a short period of time and requires an enormous amount of money to reorganize the armed forces. This is In the struggle between components of the deep state, Trump lumbers into a policy that stems from his electoral campaign rather than a considered strategy. Trump showed himself in his campaign to be strongly pro-Israel and strongly pro-armed forces, which has had the practical result of increasing military spending. Tens of billions of dollars worth of agreements have been realized with the richest country in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, for arms purchases, and the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action is viewed negatively. Trump's interventions in Syria confirmed that he is under the strong influence of that part of the deep state that is adamant that the United States should always be present in the Middle East, should openly oppose Iran, and above all, should prevent the Shiite arc from extending its influence to cover Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. The reasoning employed by Trump and his administration confirms this direction in Washington's strategy involving greater cooperation with Beijing to solve the Korean issue, less of an effort to decrease Moscow's influence in Syria and in the Middle East in general, the greater belligerence toward Iran, with a general shift away from Asia and towards the Middle East, backtracking away from Obama's pivot to Asia. Trump seems to give the impression of wanting to face China from an unprecedented direction with a trade war that would inevitably end up damaging all sides. In this ad hoc strategy, the European allies play an important role in Washington's intention to cancel or modify the Iranian nuclear agreement following the meeting in Washington between Trump and Macron, and then with Merkel. Both European leaders seem more or less open to a modification of the JCPOA, provided that Trump backs away from placing tariffs on European countries, an appeal to which the English Premier Theresa May adds her name. It seems a desperate tactic given that one of the issues Trump is pinning his 2020 campaign on is being able to fix trade imbalances between the U.S. and the EU, without which he will be unable to claim to have kept his promises. The United States has many cards to play, but none is decisive. In Korea, the peace process depends very little on Trump's intentions and more on the willingness of the two key parties to reach a historic agreement to improve the lives of all citizens of the peninsula. I predict that the deep state will try to blame the DPRK for a failure of the negotiations, thereby bringing to Asia the chaos in international relations that the U.S. has successfully brought to other parts of the world. The People's Republic of China will therefore try to replace the United States in negotiations in order to bring the two negotiating parties closer together. In the same way, an attempt to sabotage the JCPOA will only drive Russia, China, and Iran into a strategic triangle, about which I was writing more than a year ago. A unilateral exit from the nuclear agreement will help delegitimize Washington's international role, together with the sabotage by the deep state of the peace agreement in Korea. It will be a pincer effect resulting from the chaos and the internal struggle of North America and European elites. Success in the negotiations in Korea could pave the way for a protection umbrella for the DPRK, that's Democratic People's Republic of Korea, guaranteed by China and Russia. In the same way, the two could grant Iran all the diplomatic support necessary to resist the American and European pressure to cancel the JCPOA. Ultimately, the rapprochement between India and China in view of important agreements on the BRI could seal community and cooperation between the two giants, leading the Eurasia area under the definitive influence of India, China, Russia, and Iran, and guaranteeing a future of peaceful economic development to the most important area of the globe. The United States finds itself divided by a war within the elite, where Trump's presidency is continually attacked and delegitimized, while the coordinated assault on the dollar continues apace through gold, petro yuan, and the blockchain technology. The U.S. military power is showing itself to be a paper tiger, unable to change the course of events on the ground, as recently seen in Syria. The loss of diplomatic credibility resulting from the sabotage of the JCPOA and Washington's inability to sit down and sincerely negotiate with the People's Republic of Korea will deliver the final coup de grace to a country that is struggling to even remain friendship with her European allies. I don't like how that was worded. Sit down and sincerely negotiate with the Democratic People's Republic of Korea will deliver the final coup de grace to a country that is struggling to even remain, I would say, even retain friendship from her European allies. Sanctions imposed on Russia, sanctions on European companies participating in the Nord Stream 2, and tariffs in the new trade war. The U.S. deep state remains on this path of self-destruction, permanently torn between opposing strategies, which only accelerates Washington's unipolar decline and the emergence in its place of the multipolar world order, with New Delhi, Moscow, Beijing, Tehran as new poles over an immense area comprising the Middle East and all of Eurasia. I could not have possibly remembered all that, but the bottom line here is our nation is losing its standing in the international community because of its inability to sincerely negotiate with these people, and it's going to cause lots of financial troubles for the American people. I dare say that to such an extent that it will cause shit to hit the fan here in the United States and probably Canada. Anyway, I thought I'd share this article with you. I thought it was fairly important. Hope you all have a great day. And remember, kill the state before the state kills you.